right, welcome everybody. I'm John Harris. I'm the program coordinator here at Center for Students in Recovery, and I'd like to welcome you to our space and to a special Youth Substance Misuse and Addiction Pop-Up Institute edition of the Seminar on Addiction and Recovery, also known as SOAR. SOAR occurs monthly from September through November and February through September, drawing from experts in the scientific, research, and professional communities to explore current themes around addiction and recovery. Information about our upcoming events can be found on the calendar page of our website, recovery.utexas.edu, and by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter and Instagram. Pop-Up Institute has run daily events, mostly in this space, since April 16th through tomorrow, May 15th, and today's SOAR, this evening's SAMHSA National Prevention Week Town Hall on youth opioid harm prevention, and tomorrow's Pop-Up Institute Summit are the culminating events of all of this work. Today's guests are Dr. Bob Dew, Director of the Center for Music and Learning at Butler School of Music and Clinical Professor at Dell Medical School, Dr. Art Markman, the Irian, is that right? The Irian Wortham Centennial Professor in the Department of Psychology, and Rebecca McEnroy, host, show creator, and executive producer for KUT and QTX Radio, and of their radio show, Two Guys on Your Head, KUT. So thanks for coming, and let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you for having us. I mean, I'm struggling, as you can tell, with allergies, so I'm not going to talk a whole heck of a lot, but I don't usually. It's totally fine. But since it's such a small group, if you do have questions, just kind of feel free to raise your hand. We'll start it with like a question format. But we wanted to start by talking a little bit about what addiction is, first of all, because you guys deal with it all the time, and you might, it wouldn't be the right analogy to say miss the forest from the trees, but you might not think a lot about like how it's defined in psychology or some of the ways it's looked at from the outside. So let's start with that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and you know, obviously, there's a lot of factors that come together in sort of the perfect storm that can be addiction. But one of the mechanisms that is co-opted in addictions is certainly the habit learning mechanism. And one of the reasons that that's so important is because a lot of times we talk about the fact that if you look at a human brain, right, it looks like a pair of boxing gloves set the wrong way around, with the thumb on the side, fingers in the front. And it's gray in color on the outside, it's all those bare neurons. And then you dig into the brain a little bit, it goes from gray in color to white in color, and that white stuff is a lot of that is insulation on nerve fibers. It's carrying signals from one area of that outer cortex to another. And then if you keep digging down in the brain, you get to more gray matter structures very deep in the brain, some areas called the basal ganglia. And the thing about those structures is that's the seat of a lot of our motivation. It's a lot of what engages our goals and creates our habits and maintains those habits is happening deep in the brain there. The reason that that's so important, particularly when it comes to things like addiction, is because those brain structures deep in the brain are not well connected with the outer cortex. And there's two elements to that really matter. One is that the outer cortex is where we have a lot of our great storytelling apparatus. And so all of the stories that we tell about why we're doing what we're doing are fictions that we create to explain the behavior that's being driven by these brain structures deep in the brain. And the other part of it is that a lot of the areas of the frontal lobe that are important for deliberately trying to do things and also for stopping our habits, right? So we have this system that tries to stop what we're doing. Those are in the frontal lobes, and they're not particularly well connected to what's going on deep in the brain either, which means that just making the resolution, from this day forward, I'm not going to do that thing anymore that I'm doing that I don't want to do, is utterly ineffective because the brain structures that are driving behavior are just not that well connected to those structures that are saying, from here on forward, I'm going to do something different. And so, no matter how much conviction you have in the moment that this is the last day I'm going to use a drug or take a drink or whatever it is, you can't just tell yourself not to do it because you've got to reprogram this whole system that's deep in the brain. And it turns out that that's really effortful for good reasons, because most of the habits we have, actually, we want to maintain. They're good for us. And it's just that in this particular case, it actually gets us in